We now have the third and final part of the analysis to complete. You may recall that this has to do with looking to see if the proportion of SES categories within each ethnic group are the same or different from one another. That is, we want to look to see if the composition of SES within ethnic groups. The reason we're doing this is because there have been a number of studies that have shown such things as an achievement gap, and they focus on ethnicity. We're looking to see if maybe an extraneous variable that might be responsible for those differences is socioeconomic category, or more specifically even, it would be variables that are related to socioeconomic categories. Those might include things like educational level of the parents, resources available to the parents and to the school, the types of activities that are typically provided within the community, and so forth. Okay, so let's move on with this analysis. So the first thing I'm going to do, as I already laid out in my planning, is I'm going to get stacked bar plots where I'm looking at the SES category within the race categories or ethnic groups. So to do this, we start by creating a table of frequencies. We use the exact same table command we used before, but this time we have two variables that we're looking at the same time, SES and race. So let me go ahead and just run that one line so we can take a look at what that looks like. I saved that table in ses.race.counts, but here's the way the table looks. So we see that every frequency is really the combination of two variables, a race variable and an SES category variable. So if I look, for instance, here at 6, that 6 is 6 African Americans were in the middle SES condition. 6 of the African Americans were in the middle SES condition. Now what I'm going to do down here is I'm going to use prop table just like I did when I had one variable. I'm going to do that when I have two variables. I'm also going to turn it into percents. Now this is optional. I just chose to show you percents this time. So I'm going to turn it into percents by multiplying by 100. There's one more argument here, that 2, that needs some explanation. Let me go ahead and run this because that would be the easiest way to give you the explanation. So let's see what we get. Okay, what we have here are conditional percents where we're conditioning on ethnic category. So if I look at the breakdown of SES within an ethnic category, I have for Hispanic 37.5, 45.8, and about 16.7 for high, which together adds up to 100%. So the 100% isn't adding up all these different percentages. It's adding up within an ethnic category. That's what that 2 did. If I had instead done a 1, then what it would have given me is it would have given me percents that were conditioned on SES. That is, if I would have looked around across this one row here for low, those percents would have added up to be 100%. That is, I would have looked within low SES, what percent's Hispanic, what percent's Asian, what percent's African American, and what percent's white. Now we should condition on the potential explanatory variable. Do we think that race is a result of SES or SES is a result of race? I think it's the first one, and so the explanatory variable, I'm sorry, I think I said that wrong. The second one, that is, we think that SES is more a function of race, not race being a function of SES. So this is the table really I want, the one up here. But what the 2 and the 1 does is it will give us either, the 2 gave us column conditional percentages, the 1 gave us row conditional percentages. I want the column conditional percentages, so I'll put that back. If I didn't put in either a 1 or a 2, what it would do is not give me conditional percentages. It would give me percents that all together add up to 100%. But that's not what I want. There are many more whites, as you can see here. There are many more whites in our sample than there are the other ethnic groups. And so any percentage I'm going to get here for whites is simply because there's more of them. So I want this conditioned on race. And so that's why I want that 2 in. Now, should you memorize that? Well, little secret, I don't memorize that. What I do each time is I'll put up here for table, I'll put in the 2 variables, then I'll put in maybe a 1 and see if that gave me the right thing. And if it doesn't, I change it to a 2. And if that still doesn't give me the right thing, I'll go back and I'll switch around these variables in the table and I'll just play with it until I get the right thing. Pretty messy, right? That's maybe not the way you want to do it. Maybe you want to take good notes and document exactly what order you should do it in. Let's see if we can figure that out here. This would tell me that I need to put the explanatory variable second, the response variable first in the table, and then I'm going to put in a 2 down here. So if you always do it that way, it will always work. If you're going to be sloppy about it, you can do what I do and just do trial and error until I get it to work. Now that I have these percents, I want to put them into a conditional bar graph or bar plots. No, bar graph, bar plots, either way. Bar graph, bar plots. All right. So I was thinking I was confusing it with box plots, but no, I wasn't. I was confusing the word graph and plot. Hey, guess what? You can say bar graph, you can say bar plot. So bar plot is the name of the function. And so I'm going to put in SES race percents, X labels ethnic group, Y label percents. Now, I've got a couple other things going on. Now I need a legend because I have more than one variable. So for my response variable, I have to give the categories. The categories for ethnic group are already going to come out on the horizontal label, as you'll see. But for the response variable, I need to put these in a legend. So I use legend, and then I need to give a title to the legend. So that's done like this. In this thing called arguments legend, we give a little list. The title is here. This is optional, but I consider it pretty important, this little CEX. What is that little CEX? That tells me how big to make my legend. If I leave it, it will make it 100% or size 1. We'll play with this and I'll show you what it does. I played with it already and found that about 70% or 0.7 works about right for this particular bar graph. So here it is. Here it is right here. So let's say I had taken this out. Let's go ahead and take this piece out. And then let's run it. Okay, you might like that, and it's okay. If you like that, it's okay. I liked it a little smaller. In fact, let's show you that I could have made it smaller yet. I'm going to make it 40% of its original size. Ooh, that's too small. You need your reading glasses. So that's why I settled on 70% of the original size. So here's our side-by-side bar graphs. If there is no relationship, we expect to see the same amount of dark gray, the same amount of medium gray, and the same amount of light gray for each of the bars. That's obviously not the case. Notice that there's much more high SES here in the white condition than there is in the others. African American and Hispanic have quite low high SES. How you like that? Quite low high SES. Quite small amounts of high SES. White has small amounts of low SES, whereas look at African American, a substantial number in the sample are from low SES. Now let's get the actual proportions that go with that. And to do that, I'm just going to type out that SES race percents I showed you before. Let me show you again. SES.race.percents. This has everything we need, so all I'm doing is adding the round command, and the round command will get it to us rounded off. And so we can see that, for example, for whites, there are 17% low, 15 middle, 50 middle, 33 high, whereas for African American, 55% from low SES, 30% middle, and 15% high. Let's go ahead and look at what my preview looks like for this analysis. Okay, looks like this. I have a little narrative describing it. I have a table, and then I describe some highlights. So I say, for instance, a relatively low percentage of whites are in low SES, whereas the percentage of non-white ethnic groups in the low SES categories are substantially higher than for whites. In fact, 3 times higher for African Americans. Okay, so now we've done the 3 analysis parts. In the next video, let's go through our final conclusions and then the press release to see how we can finish off this report.